Welcome to the Men's Room, a space for dads who want to show up, do the work, and be better every day. No ego, no posturing, just honest conversations about fatherhood, marriage, friendship, and life. Brought to you by Chad Henderson Coaching, real support for guys who want to grow. Okay, let's dive in. All right, guys, welcome back. Excited for a new episode. We've got Teron, Larry, and Taylor joining us. Brett couldn't make it today. I'm sure you understand. We're recording on Good Friday. He had kids home. Folks, I've got kids home too. So this is a dad podcast. If a kid interrupts, if there's kids in the background, I just want to reiterate, it does not matter. It's more than expected. But how are you doing, fellas?
Hey, great. Can't complain. Won't complain.
Teron, it's good to have you back, man. We missed you for a lot of things. We've had you gone for a couple episodes, but it sure is good to see you again.
Man, it's great to be back, man. I always take a lot from these conversations that we have together. Every time I leave it, I feel like I've had my cup poured into. So always a pleasure.
Good. Well, excited to share that same thing with others. I feel the same. Larry and Taylor, how you guys doing?
Doing good. You know, it's Friday before Easter. I got a packed weekend of things to do. Another kids' soccer game. We talked about hobbies last time. Colin had his second tennis lesson on Wednesday. So that was quite the thing as a tennis player. I was very proud to see him out there.
When did you have your first tennis lesson in life, Larry?
Oh my gosh. I picked it up when I was in like a freshman in high school because I missed baseball tryouts. I'm like, you got to do something. And so I ended up playing tennis. And so, he's starting much earlier than me, which means he's going to be one of those. I'm hoping he's one of those kids when he's like 12 who can just run circles around me like it's nothing. So it's fun though. He had a good time. He's engaged. I got to get him a little bit more practice so he understands what's happening out there. He's definitely the smallest kid out there, but he's having a good time. And my favorite part was at the end, as we're walking off the court, he looks at me and he says, "Dad, are you proud of me?" Oh my gosh.
Oh, yeah.
My heart melted. He literally could have said, "Dad, I would have bought him a car right there. Whatever he wanted after that statement, I would have bought it for him."
Pizza.
But no, that's right. That was a great moment. So it was really cool.
He's going to listen to this at some point. He's going to know the formula.
Right.
Right.
Oh, exactly. Wait a minute.
That's all I need to do here to get away.
Well, that's really cool, Larry. Thanks for sharing that. Taylor, how you doing, man?
Doing pretty well. Obviously, we got Easter coming up, and got to get these eggs ready, and soccer. My son starts his season tomorrow, so that was his first game of the season, and that's exciting. My oldest daughter's in dance, and watching Inside Out 2 really does make me think. Project out a few years and.
Whew.
Yeah,
I love it. Yeah, no, 100%. And that's a really good leeway. I made you guys watch Inside Out 2 coming into this, so we'll get to that. But I want to hear about the parenting successes or failures. What do we got going on in our lives? I had a few successes this week. I shared with y'all that back like a couple weeks ago, maybe last week, my daughter got diagnosed with autism. The behavior that we've seen at home it actually makes a lot of sense now that we've all kind of put it together. But I was kind of proud of myself because with that diagnosis, there was a sense of like understanding that came through me this week as a parent, where like normally when I was trying to rush her or kind of getting on her case about not remembering something, I feel like I was able to better give myself permission to just like provide her with love and understanding and kindness rather than urgency and stress. Anyway, I don't always react like that. I'm going to be honest. Like, I know this is my podcast and maybe like folks think I'm some sort of perfect dad. I am not. It was kind of cool to see that come out of me this week and see that understanding happen. So I'll kick it off with, that's my parenting success of the week, boys. How about you all? What's parenting been like this week? You got anything good that happened or anything you failed at?
I think this morning my son transitioned from being, a grumpy person in the morning, which relatable, to watching the birds and the squirrels outside and being excited about that. And the older I get, the more exciting that is for me too. So, that was a good transition. So I view that as a success, small
Oh,
little
that is a
success, but
success. Understand Grandpa's morning coffee a little bit more
right.
every day I get older. Yeah, there's no doubt. Yeah, thanks, Taylor.
Love seeing the kiddos progression, right? Seeing them, wake up from, go from being that, grumpy kiddo to like, seeing the beauty in the morning, right? I I had a little bit of a progressive moment here where I realized that my daughter, we've known this for a while. She's not a big fan of being told what to do. Uh, I don't. It's a mix of, um, you know, wanting to have autonomy, but also, believing that she knows what's best. So if we have to do it, uh, she has to do it my way. She assumes that it's the worst of the two options. Um, and one of the things that we've been doing more recently is taking the directive off the table and just giving her options. So like, it used to be the case where it'd be like, hey, Jordan, go put your jacket on. You got to put your jacket on. It's cold outside. You can't go to the school bus without your jacket on. Now it's like she's on her way to the door, and I'm like, hey, it's a little chilly outside. Your jacket's in the kitchen, but like, yo, if you don't want it, that's all you. You know what I'm saying? Best wishes.
Natural consequences.
Remember, you got to go outside for recess.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, ooh, I better go get my jacket, right? So like, she ends up doing the thing that we wanted her to do anyways, but she wants a little bit more autonomy. So we've just seen that play out and have much, much, much better, a much better outcome for her as it relates to her like desire to own her story and her actions and body. So we're gonna play into that card a little bit more and see where it gets us.
That's great. Yeah, really cool. Thank you, Teron.
Yeah. Shout out to my wife. That's one thing that she like ingrained in me early on, because I'm the same. Like I had a struggle with the whole Colin making the choice thing and forcing something on him, and then the tantrums and the upsetness, and it just became a cycle. And so definitely that was a game changer for us too, Teron, is that you can either do this or this, and they're technically choosing, but really, what they're going to choose based on the two options usually. So that definitely a big game changer for us for sure. So I think that was huge.
What I loved hearing most about that, though, was how you all talked about the way in which you and your partners communicated with each other and have both been being more intentional about that, right? Like, I love that parenting partnership came through in the way you guys told that story. Because, there's moments where we got to catch our partner. I'm not on my game all the time. My wife's not on her game every once in a while. Hardly ever, Keelan. I know you're listening. But yeah, it's important. I love that. Thanks for bringing that in. Larry, I interrupted you in order to emphasize that point, but.
No, I think a parenting win for me this week is, Colin got a bike for his birthday, but he's just he's a short kid. That's one of the genes that my kid got. And so he's always had a struggle, like reaching like pedals and things. But, and so he also always fights like going outside and running his bike. We're able actually to get him out there and get him pedaling and getting moving, and he's enjoying it a lot more. And so I think that was a big win. It's just patience and providing grace. I think, again, it's one of those things that you want your kid to go out and do these things because it's fun and he'll enjoy it. I think you just got to give him a little bit of time and not like push him too much. And so I think that grace, that patience paid off, and he's loving it. So I'm hoping that continues to progress moving forward. So fingers crossed.
Dude, those are some big dad moments, you guys.
I'm telling you.
Nice work. That's cool. Teaching them about patience all over the place. I love it. Well, we came into today with an assignment, though. I can't have made Teron watch Inside Out 2 and not get to his notes that he took. So now Inside Out, when I watched Inside Out and Inside Out 2, I feel like it just does such a good job for me of bringing a face and naming individual emotions. Because when I look at myself, even as a grown-ass man, I have a hard time deciphering, how am I feeling? Sometimes I'll ask my kids, and I'm like, I don't even know if I can answer the question myself. So I've been working on that a lot. But I wondered, what were your, do you have favorite scenes? What were your takeaways from the movie just to start with? What'd you think of it? Dud, or is it good?
It was good. It was good.
It's legit.
Yeah. I really enjoyed. I mean, my favorite thing, the big takeaway for me was just the whole. So you start with the kind of voice inside a kid's head, and I think that's super important. And then the transition as you get into the teenage years, and it's something that Eric Erickson talks a lot about, is figuring out your identity, which is a related thing, but it's not the same thing, right?
Yeah.
And so that's huge when you figure out who you are and who you want to be and make those kind of choices. What's important to you? What's key to your identity? I think was a big part of the movie for me,
That's
and I
such
really
a good
enjoyed that.
point. That's such a good point. Like the way in which emotions impact your personality. If you don't have those in check, it's hard to know who you are.
Yeah.
Dude, I think that just described my teenage years for me in a way that I hadn't thought about, Taylor. Dude, that was brilliant. Thank you. Yeah, that's a good point. I like that takeaway.
You know, I used to, again, before I went to the corporate world, I worked in orientation programs for colleges for 12 years. And, you know, I worked very much into during these big transitions in students' lives. And I think that's what Inside Out is about, right? It's this big transition from moving up into schools or her friends moving away and joining this big hockey team. And there's all these transitions with these people, these pressures, these, like Taylor said, like figuring out how she's going to find her identity or her place in this big transition that's happening in her life too. So I think it's such a cool way that's so applicable no matter who you are, how old you are, what you're doing. And we all have these transitions in our life, and seeing how these emotions really play out in those transitions, I think are huge. And we can, I think, walk away with lots of applicable practices or just aha moments from the movie. And so I think I love it. I watched it with my son for the first time a couple of months ago, and he more likes the characters and the craziness and all the fun things. But I love a good movie that when you're like a 40-year-old man, you're sitting there like, you know what? That's so me. Like I feel that. Like I just saw that. And so I think that's what I really loved about it.
Oh man. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
That was true.
It's
Tehran's got notes. Man, we're ready, Tehran.
Listen, let me tell you something. This movie, it was solid, right? And it hit a few things for me, right? Like first of all, being an adult, being able to watch the movie and like have it hit in a different sort of way.
Yeah.
Like, I remember like watching like The Lion King when I was a kid, right? And not recognizing some of the jokes and themes and things that they threw in for like the older folks who were watching it that I just couldn't catch, right? And so like, I know that I have an appreciation of it that my kids probably didn't have when they watched Inside Out. They watched it before I did. I'll say one of my biggest takeaways, the biggest takeaway for me, and I got like 2.5 pages of notes here, but like the biggest takeaway from me was two-pronged. One, the irrationality of any one emotion. Right? Unchecked one emotion, right? You think about, which leads into the second piece, right? No one is the villain in their own story, right? Like if you were any character, if we were watching this story through any particular character's lens, they're the good guy, right? In the story, right? Like, anxiety is just looking out for her best interest. Joy just wants her to be happy. You know what I mean? Like there's no bad guy in this until you start to look through the lens of somebody else, right? So like
they start to wreak havoc.
Yeah, collectively you needed it all. Like you needed the balance of every emotion, right? Which says something about how we have been conditioned as people, right? Like you hear the word anxiety and you go, oh man, that's absolutely terrible, right? Like this irrational fear and worry, right? Also, sometimes anxiety keeps us alive, right? Like that worry, like that really, really, really big worry keeps us from going down a path of doing something that's reckless or destructive, right? But it has to be checked by other emotions and other behaviors and the circumstance and situation you find yourself in play a role too, right? So all together in concert, right? We need those components and those emotions in ourselves working together to make sure that we can, land where we need to.
Yeah.
That's a great point. Anxiety is a motivator, like obviously there are downsides, especially it can be overwhelming, which the movie I think was trying to show that, right? And then at the end, how the emotions came together was like, hey, if you have these, but a healthy balance of them, then you can function as a person. And hopefully that's what maturing is, right? Although we're all still working on it in our own ways, I'm sure, at least I am.
No, not me at all. Totally mature. Just ask anyone that knows me. Just a complete mature full adult.
Until you talk about the Packers, and then
then don't bring that up for sure. She would. Although Aaron Rodgers hasn't signed anywhere yet, and I'm hoping he goes to the Vikings. So I would love to see him
What would you
just
root for, the
torture the
Vikings?
Vikings.
Uh,
Absolutely. You know what kind of tailspin it would send Vikings fans into if Aaron Rodgers was the reason they won their first Super Bowl? They would have an identity crisis like no other. Okay, sorry, I took it away. You mentioned the Packers.
I know it's what happens. We have a whole Packers podcast.
That's the dog whistle.
I
That's the
love.
dog whistle that is not a dog whistle. Like, it's very clear, overt.
I invited 2 Bears fans. I don't know what the hell I was thinking. Like, oh gosh. I enjoy the way in which the characters allow me to relate to them in a way that my kids can also relate to them. So like my daughter had a cheerleading showcase this week, and she was nervous. Like she was really nervous, and it makes sense you'd be nervous, but like you're with your whole team out there. Like it's not like you're gonna sing on a stage by yourself, which she's done before. But the way I was able to talk to her about it and talk about like the feeling of anxiety, and I was able to talk to her, and actually it led me to tell her about like, I was feeling really anxious before a speech this week too, and like there was going to be a lot of people there. So I just appreciate the way in which I thought the movie brought feelings to life. Also made me understand feelings a little bit different. There's the part at the beginning where the girl wakes up, right? She's in her bed, her mom's waking her up, and like, and the characters are like, oh, she's not having a great start to the morning, and the anger guy walks over and he hits the button and the girl blows up at her mom. He's like, whoa, I just touched it a little. Like, it's malfunctioning. But, like, I feel that. Like, there's times where I'm even surprised by my reaction. Oh, yeah. I just really appreciated that it, like, brought it to life and saw how, like, oh, you just pushed the button wrong a little bit. It just brought some explanation to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's so common, especially in those teenage years where your hormones are, influencing your behavior quite a bit and still trying to figure yourself out and all that, so.
Yeah.
And it normalized it, right? Like,
yeah.
Like, I mean, I think back to my teenage years, I swear I was the only person who was going through what I was going through, right? You couldn't tell, there was nothing you can do to convince me to believe that my friends were having the same experience as me emotionally, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely they were. But you couldn't tell me that, right? Like this right. movie helps normalize the understanding that, as we grow, age, develop. Hell, we're still doing it now, right? Like I can't tell you, like at the start of the movie where Joy is taking all the bad memories and she's launching them into like the void, essentially.
Yes.
I paused the movie right there and I wrote a note and I said, oh my God, right? Like, talk about how we repress shit, right? Like, we repress things, we push it down. And I know this is going to come back later. This has to come back later, right? Like, taking the things the memories and the moments that we don't hold in high regard, and instead of addressing them, right? And instead of working with and through them, we try to compartmentalize, push them down, push them away, pretend they didn't happen, when they are actually integral to our development and who we are as people, right? I sat there, I paused the movie, and I said, I literally said to the TV screen, you will not yell at me, okay? You will not speak to me that way, right? Because it was too real. It was hidden in a place that, I don't think sometimes we want to go.
Especially as men.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that does. So that reminds me of the Carl Jung's theory of the shadow. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that one, but basically it's that you have this hidden version of yourself you try not to show, and a part of that is those memories that you're trying to repress. And for men specifically, he talks about how men have tried to hide their sensitive side because we're taught that as a culture, and there are effects of that. But once you become comfortable with who you are, you just don't care anymore. Yeah. So you're just going to be yourself. And yeah,
that's real. And one more call out too before I don't want to get too deep in my notes. I know we got a lot of time.
No, you're good.
Anybody else catch the danger of anxiety being right? Right? Like the one part where like anxiety got it right. And so it fed anxiety's belief. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, oh, see, anxiety is good. Anxiety is right. Let me lean into it more. Right.
And we look for, I know, speaking for my own, what I learned is I am constantly like, so my inner voice, the anxiety that I deal with, just to be very vulnerable in this group, is constantly feeling like I'm not good enough. And the only voice in the world that has ever told me that I'm not good enough is my own voice.
That's
Right? Like it's me that tells
Yeah.
myself that. And I'm constantly looking for evidence that I'm not good enough. And guess what? If you're only looking for evidence that you're not good enough, you'll cling on to any single example that you can find. Yeah, absolutely. I can relate to that so hard, Teron. Yeah.
Yeah.
You just
And not
cling
even-
to that evidence. Yeah, go. Yeah.
And not even like actual examples, right? It's like those examples that you project in your head, like the scene where the people are all drawing the things that could happen, right? And like the anxiety is really feeding that. Like I think that's what, because I'm the same way, Chad. That's probably one of my biggest things that I have anxiety about is not being good enough or someone not liking me as much as I want them to.
Yeah.
And it's never something, I don't really have a moment when that's happened. It's just something that I've been projected in myself, where that anxiety creates these images that if I don't do this, if I don't say this, if I don't dress a certain way, that this is what the outcome's going to be, right? And so I do whatever I can to avoid that, and that anxiety just overtakes my projections, what I think is going to happen. So it's tough. No, and again, that's one thing I love about this movie, and like I think we've all said, when I was in my teenage years, my adolescence growing up, really building my identity, I had no idea what any of this crap was, right? I couldn't name anxiety. I couldn't name ennui or how that affected me. And I love the fact that there's a movie like this that when my kid is having these emotions for the first time and is really trying to figure it out, I'm like, hey, don't listen to me. Let's go watch this Disney movie, right? And I think oftentimes like media like that is going to sit with a child so much more than your old dad's telling you about anxiety and what it looks like, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Which I don't even know. I mean, I don't even know if I have that conversation.
Right. Yeah.
My kid gets pulled. Both of them get pulled out of class to do like emotional management, and I'm like, are you kidding? Like, what a gift!
Man.
Like, holy,
Could you imagine?
that's so great.
They're years ahead of us, right?
Yeah. Like they've given names to like.
Right.
There's these characters called the Incredibles that the kids can relate to, and like one's like Rock Brain, and Rock Brain's visiting when like you just refuse to listen to what someone has to say, and like my son can relate to Rock Brain and he understands it. I didn't have any names for these even as a 30-year-old man,
No.
Right.
and now my kids are. It's so cool to see. I think there's really been a turn. I don't know, maybe I'm just in a good school district. It seems to me like in general, society, some parts of society are doing a better job of addressing emotional management in kids. And I'm just really thankful that, I'm lucky to be sitting in a room with a bunch of gentlemen who do the same thing. Can you relate to it though? It's easy to look at it with your kids. Can you relate to it at all when you look at yourself? Because I think that's what's really tough about manhood, being men, is like you have to take the time to reflect, and I certainly can relate all kinds of stuff with my kids, but I think what's amazing to me is the way I can relate to it as a grown man. We don't stop to think about the ways that we react. We don't stop to think about how we could react differently or how we could feel our emotions, like crying during a movie. Like, is that something you allow yourself to do? Like, not all men are able to do that. Showing emotions to your kids, is that something you're able to do? I was kind of curious what your all's thoughts are about how that movie relates to you.
I think a lot of people mislabel anxiety, and I know for myself, I try to think that it's overthinking, but overthinking is a form of anxiety, right? I mean, you could say that anger is, I know it's anger in the movie, but they have similar roots, and so it does make me think of it in that way, because I do overthink things. I worry about what's going on in the world, and that can be overwhelming. Like, you can be, like, for me, small doses is the best strategy for that, right? I can take in what's going on in the world in small doses, and I can handle that well. But if I become obsessed with it, if it takes over me, which again is what was going on in the movie, right? Anxiety was taking over. Then it's overwhelming. So a healthy balance, right? Healthy balance. Yeah. You got to find the joy. That's part of the overall theme, right?
Yeah. Right.
Joy is so present when you're a kid, but the way in which you have to seek joy out, well, that's both like a sad part of the story and also a real part of the story that I tried to remind myself of. Like, sometimes you need to remind yourself to look for some of your emotions.
Yeah.
Like, and see if they're supposed to be present for. I went through some stuff as a kid where I didn't know it until, again, I was much older. Therapy really saved my adulthood. But like I had learned to turn off my emotions. Well, I didn't even realize that, right? Like it was a safety mechanism, and people go through shit. People have been through stuff. Like all of us can relate to different things, but I had turned mine off, and I had to like go back, and now I have to actually still physically remind myself, like, are you feeling like, should you feel more sad in this? Like,
Yeah.
are you allowing yourself to feel sadness here? Because most of the time, no, I'll make a joke and I'll push it away and like, push it off to the side. So, yeah.
That's a whole lesson right there, man. Like that is a lecture right there around like how the negative or more challenging or potentially destructive emotions find us, but we have to go and seek and choose the positive ones.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and that played out in the movie, right? Like there's a part in the movie where they're like, hey, Joy, she's calling you. Like she wants you right now, right? Riley has to go and make the decision to choose Joy. Riley didn't choose anxiety. Riley didn't choose anger. She didn't choose sadness, right? She didn't choose ennui. They all chose her. She had to make an active decision to then lean into the joy, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, you talk when you frame it in that light, man. Like it's an uphill battle. For every one positive emotion you have to go out and seek, there are 4 other ones that are like waiting around the corner to whoop your ass like that.
Yeah.
That makes it tough, man. So like it makes the conversation and the intentionality that much more meaningful that you have to pour into this.
Which is why, I think that inner voice is so important. And you talked about the cycle of like, if you look for bad or like examples of yourself failing, for example, then you can kind of create that reality in a way, right?
Oh, yeah.
But you can flip that over, and you can say that if you look for the good, and if you try to find yourself succeeding, that you can create that reality too. But it is harder. I think it is for most people, that is a challenge. But the inner voice plays a role in that, right? So like for me, the inner voice is my mom saying, you can do anything you want if you work hard, which was a little bit of a lie, but to have that inner voice is so valuable because then you're looking for yourself ways to succeed as opposed to the opposite, although it is easy to fall out of it if you have enough failures in a row,
Yeah. Can I also call out the tipping point? Like, it's not lost on me that like when we as people, when we hit our tipping point, we tend to do that which is completely counter to our normal way of being, right? Like if you're normally a quiet person, when you're ready to blow up, you get big, you get loud. When you're normally a loud person, like how do you tell the world that you're done with this? You get quiet and you resign. Right? I was watching a movie and that stood out to me. At one point, Joy was like, this super happy and jovial person, and then all of a sudden she's like, I'm mad. You know how hard it is to be Joy, like all the time. I was like, oh, yeah, no, she's really mad. Like Joy is real mad. And then like anger, right? Anger even hit their tipping point. How do we know? Because they practice compassion. Like anger was the voice of reason in the soft person in the conversation that like helped Joy find joy. You know what I mean? So like hitting your tipping point is such a wild thing because you end up being something that either you're not or you've always wanted to be but have been inhibited. And so you just let it go. You know what I mean? Like you just you're raw. And I think we need to find a way between our zero and our tipping point to almost like release the like hit the exhaust valve a little bit, right? So we don't have to blow up every single time and be so different, fundamentally different than how we tend to be experienced.
And when you do allow one of those to come in, and this is important, take the time to just say sorry, right? Like model for your kids. I've done a better job. There's a lot less pressure on me because if I blow up, and I unfortunately I react really big. That's how I've always reacted. And now though, I can go back and say like, you know what, Gregory, I shouldn't have said that like that. Like, I'm really sorry I talked to you like that. Right. And he's like, that's okay, Daddy. Like, we all make mistakes. Right. But you're modeling for them like, okay, now next time when you do it too, Like, this is how a mature person can respond. And I think a lot of parents miss that step. And I just want to like give permission to folks to like,
Yeah.
it's okay. And like, there's an explanation, just like our kids react big and explode because they don't have names for it. That's powerful. Thank you, Theron. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there an emotion that you wish you would have found earlier in life, or that you would have wish you had maybe had better control of earlier in life? Certainly for me, I think I would have I wish I would have understood the way in which my anxiety was trying to help me. I thought that was beautifully articulated. Because as I've done that now as an adult and I understand my anxiety, one, I take a little medication for it. And it'll be interesting to see how episode or movie 3 explains how medication helps your anxiety, perhaps, because I think that could be a real powerful visualization that they could show the way in which I think there's some mental health ties that I hope they hit. I have heard that maybe the person who wrote this wants to take it into like Riley becoming a mother, which would be interesting to see if they could tackle some adult issues and what new feelings get brought up. I would love to see that, but I don't know where I was going with that. Yeah, I'll just pass it to you guys. Did I say anything?
Right, things we've learned,
Yeah,
or wish we had tackled a little bit sooner. Right, that's kind of
yeah. Or advice that you've got, like other men who might be listening, or even, I mean, it's for aimed at dads, but like we got moms that listen to it too. Like advice for folks on like on emotions.
I guess I would say, go ahead.
No.
That I wish I would have learned younger how to use the anger in a productive way, like working out as an example. So, I mean, I did learn that, and I did do that pretty well at a certain point, but it was a little uncontrollable where I couldn't turn it off, and I'm trying to teach my son, like, if you have this energy and you got this anger, like soccer, that's a good time. Let it out, in a controlled way. But yeah, I wish I would have done that a little bit better when I was a teenager. And to those people I played in sports, like, I am sorry that I wasn't always in control of that, during those sports, wrestling especially. But the rage monster came out sometimes, right?
That's real.
Yeah.
I wish that I could. I wish that when I was younger, I wish I could more readily accept and believe the hype. Right? We do this Midwestern thing of like, somebody gives you a compliment, the only response is to give them a compliment right back and be self-deprecating at the same time. Right? Like you can't even feel it. Right? You're not allowed to just say thank you. Right? You have to like somehow downplay their compliment of you and then give them one back. Right? Like that's the only way, the only socially acceptable way to receive a compliment. And I wish that I'd learned sooner that even though those words are jokes, right? Like saying, having humor that, I'm the butt of the joke on, you hear it too. Like, and at some point it matters and it starts to take a toll. And so I wish I could have learned, and if I can go back and talk to 16-year-old, 15-year-old, 8-year-old Tehran, like those people who believed in you and loved you and said that you were enough and you were good, it's okay to believe them. It's okay to believe them, right? You don't have to have a but for everything, or or what if for everything, right? Like it's okay to believe a little bit of that hype with some humility, right? We got to be humble about it.
Yeah,
but like,
right.
It's okay to take the compliments of the people that you love, that are endearing, that you respect, and take it to heart.
Yeah.
Let it matter.
I could use that voice and believe that message myself, Tehran, right now. Like, yeah, I mean, certainly teenage Chad could have used it, but I read the book Atomic Habits, and in Atomic Habits, he talks about at some point in your journey, you have to change your language. So like at some point, instead of saying like, I'm trying to lose weight, or like, I'm trying to start a business, at some point you have to say like, no, I'm a business owner, or like, oh, I don't eat like that anymore. Or like, you know, like at some point you just have to change your language to allow yourself the respect of like, no, I'm doing the thing. And I always struggle with that because I feel like that's somehow setting aside my humbleness. I met someone this weekend and they were like, hey, I saw what you're doing with the podcast and the men's group. Like, that's pretty damn cool, man. Like, we need more of those messages in a society that's filled with bro culture. And I was immediately like, oh God, like, oh, like, thanks, but like, I'm not, you know, I'm trying to, and like, yeah, like, why all of that is necessary? Like, why can't you just be like, yeah, thank you, like, we're doing a really good thing, we're doing a cool thing. I relate to that, Tehran.
Let the compliments in,
right?
and
Just
you can
sometimes say
accept that you're good enough.
Say yes, thank you, right? And it's
That's right.
Yeah.
That's it.
It's hard to do though. It's hard to do.
It
Sometimes.
is.
I agree. I think for me, the emotion that I wish I understood more growing up was probably anxiety for sure. But I think a part of that is envy. I think a lot of my anxiety comes from me being envious of other people and me seeing myself as being less than because of that, right? Because I come from a lower class family. Again, I was one of the brown kids in a sea of white faces. And so I always wish I was them, or I had what they had, or I came from that family or that money. And so that always made me hide who I really was because I was envious of other people. And so I thought the way I could combat that envy was to act like something that I wasn't, right? To show that, oh, I have that even though I may not. So I think I think as I've grown up, it's just to be like grateful for what I have, for the blessings that I have. I may not have as much as somebody next to me. I may not be as good as somebody right here, but I have what I have. I'm blessed with what I have, and I think I've just been able to see that and embrace that has allowed me to just be happier, to have more joy, to not have as much anxiety. But I think it took me a long time to get there, for sure. So shout out to
Thank
Anthony.
you, Larry.
Yeah,
and that's a great answer.
That is.
I don't think that I have given myself nearly enough credit for the role that envy has played.
Yeah.
That's a really good point. I mean, in just thinking like your professional life, even now, right? Like,
still happens.
I want to be in the role that person's in, or I want the paycheck that person's got, or I want the new truck that this person's got, right? Like, I know it's a very keeping up with the Joneses type of thing, but I never really thought about it as an emotion that I have control
100%.
over. Yeah, that's a deep
like right
point.
now on my company, I run the performance review process, right? And like that's like this, it's literally envy built into that whole process, right? We reward people who have the highest ratings, and though I love those people who get those bonuses because they deserve it, I'm like, why not me, right? And it still happens, and I think it's something we still combat. It's never going to go away. So I think you just got to understand how you lean into it and understand it. And again, I love this, that Inside Out as a movie that can name that a lot better than I ever have growing up.
What do they say? What comparison is the thief of joy?
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Like
100%.
If you gauge your worth, your ability, your sense of self-accomplishment relative to others, I mean, there's always going to be somebody that we fall short of. Right, like you're never at the top. You know, at some point, right? Like you gotta allow yourself to feel good about you, no strings attached.
And I mean, if you look back, 10 years ago or 20 years ago, man, I'm getting older. Anyway, and you go like, where was I then? And so I think if you do that, if you compare yourself to yourself. I think that can be helpful a lot of times, like I was working retail and now I'm a professor, and it's interesting that you bring up the language thing because I'm still internalizing the term, like the idea of being that, and I still feel some imposter syndrome with that. So I've just started to accept and I don't want to say allow. I've never like discouraged a student from calling me a professor, but I let them call me Taylor still. It's like a weird thing, I guess. So I'm still trying to internalize the it's funny how powerful language is in that way, or a title, like there's power in that.
There is. Yeah, I think the entire group, but specifically this conversation, I think the takeaway I really wanted to lay out for men that might listen to this podcast is that it's okay to think and talk about emotions. That even, in fact, I mean, for your kids, certainly modeling for your kids, like if that's the only way I can get you to do it is to like do it for somebody else, that's great. But I want to think about the impact that it has on your life as a man, because you understand why you feel something, because you know what triggers you, because you, like, when you understand yourself, and it's not like it's an end journey. It's not like you'll get to a place and someday you're like, oh, I understand myself, because every day we change, we get older, we gain some different perspective. Your feelings can be really valid when you're 30, and then you could like realize you interpreted that completely incorrectly when you're 40, right? Like, but that was, you were working with what you had in that moment. And so I think just giving permission to men to, like, it's okay to talk about it. It's okay to know that we all feel these different feelings. It's okay to seek help. You don't have to just like rub some dirt on it and move on. And I don't know always how to relay that to some of my friends or to some other folks. And I appreciate you guys helping me lay that out there.
And you don't have to double down, right? Like the notion that since you believed it once, you always have to believe it is fallacy, right? Like when I was 5, I thought chocolate milk came from brown cows. And then I learned, right, that that's not how it works. I don't know if I'm like shattering the ground for some of y'all. I apologize, right? But like,
we'll talk after. I don't want to bring it up here, but
yeah. Are you serious? We are allowed to be complex. Like that's how, and getting back to like Riley in the movie at the end, right? At the start of the movie, there was one narrative that she is a good person, that she constantly reminded herself, I'm a good person. And then anxiety takes over and the narrative changed, right? But it was just the one narrative. It was, I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. And then at the end of the movie, what do we find, right? The narrative is a collective of everything, right? Why? Because we're allowed to be complicated, right? We're allowed to, in one moment, not have the answers, and then the next have them. In one moment to not have enough. Like there are times when we just don't have enough. We don't have it in us, but then we do eventually at some point. We could at some point, right? Like, and it's okay. It's okay to learn, develop, grow, evolve, right? That's the nature of the human condition, isn't it? Right. So you don't have to double down or be embarrassed when you find that the way that you used to be maybe shouldn't have been, or it's not what you want to be going forward. That's fine. You can take that, you can learn, grow, develop, and keep it pushing forward.
I love that.
That's great.
Well, great. Well, fellas, I appreciate you joining me for this. Any last thoughts you want to throw out? I mean, Tehran just laid out his last thought pretty well, but I'm not going to limit you on it, Tehran. But any last pieces of advice or hot takes or anything you've got?
If you need a good cry, and you want to make you need like a gateway to an emotion to be sad, and still be like bro culture. Go watch the Masters last week. Rory winning the Masters, like I definitely shed some tears. Oh man, that was a moment. I'm like, Rory, I'm glad you hit that shot. I'm glad you won that tournament. I would have felt horrible, but definitely shed some tears when he literally hit the ground and just started bawling. It hit me right here.
Yeah. There are some moments in sports that do that to me. And Rory, I mean, 2019 Tiger also did it for me. Oh, yeah. Oh, man, thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, that's a good point.
I think overall I would say it's okay to be imperfect. It's okay to be unbalanced at times. Like, I think it's inevitable. Yes, as an adult, you should be in control of your emotions, but there's going to be just times where you make mistakes, and that's okay. And as long as you try to attune from them and try to do better in the future, I think that's progress. And if you model that for your kids, that's huge. So.
Yeah, I think my challenge, a couple challenges maybe that I'd throw out there is one, when you make a mistake, say sorry to your kids. Like, normalize just like setting them aside and saying like, hey, I messed that up. I'll get that right next time, or I'll do better. I think that means the world to kids if we can do that. But also, I would challenge you to have a conversation with some other person, preferably try and have a conversation with a guy. And next time, dudes, if a guy asks you, hey, how are you doing? How's things been going? Tell them the truth. Things haven't been great. Just lead off with something real light and see how they respond. But I just want to like normalize that it's okay to talk about how you're really doing. You don't have to put on a brave face and kind of move on from things. So, fellas, As always, I learned so much today. I appreciate you taking the time to watch Inside Out 2. I know you maybe thought I was crazy when I assigned it, but this worked out really well. And I appreciate that you guys took the time to help others learn and be more in touch with their own feelings, both as parents and as dads, or as husbands. So thank you all. I will see you next time, and thanks for listening. Take care.
All right, y'all. Peace.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us in the men's room today. We hope these conversations leave you feeling empowered, less alone, and ready to take on life as a better husband, father, and friend. Remember, the men's room is proudly brought to you by Yellow Umbrella Coaching for Men, your destination for honest support, practical coaching, and community. If you're hungry for more learning opportunities or want to find out how individual life coaching can help you grow, visit yellowumbrellaconsulting.com. Until next time, take care of yourself and those around you, and we look forward to seeing you in the men's room.